I think it went pretty good. I got caught at the end where I didn't have hardly any money left and I still had to get 4 players. That's unusual for me. But with my first 10 to 12 picks, I feel I did pretty well.
I think the draft went very well. I think it's one of our best drafts in a long time, which leads me to believe that we're going to win the Super Bowl. In fact, I guarantee the Dallas Cowboys will win the Super Bowl in this league. We will win.
I'm never sure what to expect when I go into the draft, but it went really well for me. I mean, I had my son Ethan help me, and he'll take a lot of credit for it, but I think hands down I had the best draft, and I don't just say that like Fred would say. He just says that because that's the way he is. But I think my draft went really well. Players were going way too high, and I snagged like a Dez Bryant for $30. I got Le'Veon Bell for 38. It was a great draft. I don't know what Matthew Cruz was doing, our commissioner. I just don't know what he was doing, and he's gonna probably say, I don't know what I was doing.
Well, I think it went okay. I felt better last year, but I think we have a decent shot at being good as always.
His draft stunk. Ray Placencia does the same thing every year. I don't know how he even competes.
Oh yeah, I definitely think I've got the best team out there. You look at the number 1 players at each position, I've probably got half of them, so I'm real satisfied with the way things turned out.
Nick Toney is out of his league, but he'll grow. It's his first year. He's cute. He's a cute little feller in there. Yeah, he is.
I'm actually not a rookie. I was in this league about 3-4 years ago. I stopped for a little while. Now I'm back. Some people might compare me to Michael Jordan. I'm not a Michael Jordan. Is Michael Jordan a Nick Toney? Probably. But, I left in my prime. I let some other people have a chance to win, and now I'm back again in my prime. So, not a rookie, but different to the auction. I'm new to the auction draft. It's a little different. I felt like it went okay. I started out slow, but I think a lot of these guys are just old. Their performance isn't quite up to where mine is, and so I came back strong.
It went exceptional. We actually carried money over. We spent well. We're expecting a big season out of the Redskins. Kirk Cousins, got a great buy on Kirk Cousins. We bought him low. I think he's looking at a big year. We picked up his running back and Matt Jones. Not really sure what he's going to do, but we got Kirk Cousins tight end, and we got his Deshaun Jackson, his main wide receiver. We are looking good. We are looking very good right now. I look for a strong season this year.
Man, I think I did really well. I had a little bit different strategy, although I didn't change it too much. In the past couple of years, I really went heavy on the front end of my players. I got, tried to get a top 2 or 3 players, spend a lot of money on those. I backed off a little bit. I didn't go after those high players, those top tier category players. I went down to the 2nd and 3rd. And so we'll see how that pays off. I think 4 out of the top 25 is what the draft experts were saying. So I feel pretty good about that. On the back end, I'm a little hesitant on my quarterback and tight end. I waited to the very end to get those positions filled. And if there's anywhere that I'm lacking, it's going to be those 2 positions.
I think the first year people went light on the early guys, and then they went heavy later. Last year they went heavy on the top guys early, and then had to go light later. This year, I think we stole some guys in the early rounds at a pretty reasonable price, and then guys were paying the same money for lesser guys, or more money for lesser guys, later in the draft. So I felt really good about, some of the top guys we got for the money that we got them for.
Yeah, that's a great question. I did a little bit different strategy. I planned nothing. I brought nothing with me. And I kind of let the auction draft itself a little bit. If that makes any sense, I let some other people dictate where players would go, and then I jumped in to steal the best players. I tried to get quarterback one of the last rounds because, I mean, that's just kind of an overvalued position. I went heavy with the wide receiver and just, yeah, let it take care of itself.
I took a different strategy this year and didn't really have much of one, to be honest. I first off wanted to make sure that my Buffalo Wild Wing order was correct and here in place so I could eat. But actually, I took a little different approach this year and actually didn't spend as much right off the bat. I did buy a couple of big name players, and then I took a little bit of a break and saved up some money towards the later end of the draft and didn't go with a complete all-star list off the top and then not much in the bottom. So I feel like I have a little more well-rounded roster than I've had the last couple of years.
If you can get a running back and he's the only one that runs for that team, that's a huge advantage because most of the teams in the NFL go with 2 or 3 backs, on that team. And so that's where I feel I have an advantage this year. I have 2 or 3 backs, so I'm going to live or die by them. So we'll see how that goes.
This year, I really didn't start looking at my strategy until I'd say like the last 3 or 4 days, which part of that is other stuff going on in my life right now, but also part of that is I feel comfortable. I kind of have a system. I have a strategy. I already have a format planned out in terms of how much I'm going to spend at each position, where I'm going to kind of target in terms of the positions I'm going to target and also the players that I want to target. So I already have kind of a system laid out. It's just a matter of, kind of looking at maybe reordering some of the rosters and players and things like that. But for the most part, I'm fairly comfortable with it.
Well, there really doesn't take a whole lot of strategizing going on because, the guys we're playing with, I don't want to come right out and say they're inept, but they're not the sharpest group of guys. They're not really much to look at, but some of them think they know something about football, but they really don't. But so you just kind of play with them a little bit. They're spunky fellas. So that's about what we got going on.
Have you seen Fred Wimmer?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Nice job.
I think players went for the normal type prices. I think things were a little higher at the beginning, which is not abnormal. So, I went pretty high in at the beginning buying David Johnson, Odell Beckham, and Allen Robinson, which took about almost half of our budget. But I think that was the right thing to do, although we had to wait then a little bit to buy other cheaper players later in the draft. We decided that we wanted those players, so that was significant for what we wanted to do this year as an organization. And so we wanted the top tier players because we didn't feel super great about a lot of the ones in the middle.
I think one of the big differences, like I said, players were going really high. And by the second half, everyone was out of money. And I still had a little bit left, more than most people. And I had most of my lineup done. And I still had more money than just about everyone. And that's one of the things that helped me huge. I think I got in quick. And I was able to snag some of those keepers. And I don't know, I'd like to say it was because I'm great. Probably a little luck. But it was good.
Oh yeah, my roster will look a lot different. Usually it does. I'm real heavy in the free agency market, and I'll put a bunch of trade requests out there. So I may have 2 or 3 kind of core players that'll stay on my roster throughout the year, but yeah, it'll look a lot different. So I've got a lot of depth at wide receiver and running back. So I'll look to make trades, trade some of those players to get a kind of take 1 or 2 steps up at the quarterback and tight end positions. So I'll just wait for the right sucker to come along.
We love the trade. We think that's half the fun. Sometimes that works to our detriment. Usually we think that it works to our benefit, which is why we do it. But it's kind of fun to do that, and we're willing to make the kind of moves that we need to make to improve our team, and hopefully we can identify the talent sooner than other people and take advantage of that.
Last year, I think it was pretty pass happy. But I think this year, I think the running game's going to go. I think they're going to go back to the run. I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative than they were. Wide receivers went really high last year. So I loaded up on running backs this year. And I hope that pans out for me because I think they're going to try and be a little bit more conservative, keep the ball on the ground, maybe not pass so much. I'm hoping that works out for me, but we'll see.
You know what? A lot of young quarterbacks. I feel like maybe the running back is going to be valued strongly again, just because of the number of young quarterbacks, inexperienced quarterbacks. I feel like that running back position is going to be pretty important again.
I think it's gone more to a receiver game. So if you get a good running back, hope they stay healthy. But I think people tried to build up on the receivers. Is probably the biggest difference this year.
Man, they are getting so picky about these defensive. If you touch a wide receiver, I mean, boom, done. They're throwing flags like crazy. So that's kind of a bad thing for the quarterbacks because they're so picky about these defensive penalties and stuff now. So we spent $8 on our defense in Denver Broncos, which they made fun of me right out of the gate for spending $8, and then they all go for $8. I got the deal in the Denver Broncos. They are going to burn it up this year. Burn it up. Yes, sir.
I think, again, as we've said in years past, I mean, it's moving to transitioning to a wide receiver throwing league, and so there's more wide receivers that are going to be worth having on your team. Obviously, along with that, I think there's more quarterbacks than ever, so we kind of punted on the quarterback position and waited to the very end to buy quarterbacks for $2, $3, $4 instead of spending $30 or $40, which some of the higher end quarterbacks went for. So we feel pretty good about that. I think that's going to pay off for us.
That'll be interesting. In the past, the NFL has definitely gone to more of a pass-heavy offense. I think we're going to start seeing a trend where it goes back to the running backs. It's not going to go all the way back to where it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but I think you're starting to see a trend where there's a lot more of a single back teams in terms of running backs. Up until now, there's been a lot of committees, 2 or 3 running backs that'll run for a team primarily. But I think there's going to be some teams that'll start changing now and go back to that one running back that they turn to for all 3 downs.
I mean, the concussion thing is still on everybody's mind, I think, and I think it's going to continue to be so. So I think you're probably going to see running backs in particular that are probably going to be in tandem, or maybe even a 2 to 3 running back system where they're given more breaks, not letting one person carry the load as much. I think if possibly somebody goes down and even a questionable dizziness or whatever, they're going to have to miss a game or 2, go through the protocol that the NFL has in place, which is going to open up some more opportunities for more players that maybe are 3rd and 4th on the depth charts, get up into some playing action, and you could probably see us doing some waiver picking up and some crazy trades during the middle of the year to try to fill those holes where people are out with those kind of injuries.
The real Dallas Cowboys, have a slogan this year that this is the year. Now's the time. I think now's the time is the exact phrase they're using. And even though they've lost Tony Romo and they have Dak Prescott, who's going to be their quarterback this year, I think he's going to do really well. He did really well in the preseason. So I don't think teams are going to be ready for him. They're not going to know how to prepare for him. And so I think we're going to catch a lot of teams off guard. So I'm looking for the Cowboys to do really well in real life and in our fantasy draft, or in our fantasy league.
If you want that player, you can get him. All right, unlike a snake draft, in which I used to do all the time, there's no comparison. I feel once you do an auction draft, that's the only way to go. That's the best way to go. I mean, you hurt yourself at the end if you're going to spend a lot of money early, but if you want that player, your first 4 through 6, you can get him if you're willing to spend money.
Here's the thing, if you want Adrian Peterson, you can get Adrian Peterson, you just have to pay for him. In a snake draft, it's not the way it is. If you go a snake draft, if you don't have number 1 pick, you're not going to get the guy you want. That's why I love an auction draft. Now, and I do think there's more strategy in an auction draft. Just like I said earlier, everybody's just spent way too much money. They didn't have any at the end. But that's what I love about auction drafts is you can get, like Ray spent his entire load in 3 players, and he was done for a long time. But he got players that he wanted. I think he got Cam Newton, and I can't remember else. He's going to be a non-factor anyway. But that's the thing I love about an auction. You know what I mean? I love that. If you want a player, you can get him. Just may cost you a little bit.
Well, what's interesting with the auction draft is I think this is our 3rd time. And going into it every year, you have a strategy, but every year that strategy gets blown out of the water pretty quick. So you have to adjust on the fly of what you're going to do, which is something I really like about the auction draft, is it keeps you on your toes and you have to be thinking quickly as you go through. So yeah, I think strategy is good to have. I think you got to have some parameters on how much you're going to spend on certain players, certain positions, but you also have to be able to make adjustments as you're going. Kind of just, like in the NFL draft or other, other things that you do, you have to make those adjustments, and it's kind of fun.
And I'd much rather continue on with the auction draft than the snake draft. I like this a lot better.
I look forward to this night so much.
There's some interesting ones. I don't know if watching out for them is the correct term, but I think there could be some epic fails. There's always Fred's team. I mean, that's always a classic every year. I just get a kick out of that. Ray Placencia spent a lot of money early, and I was real disappointed in the end of his draft.
We're playing with goofballs here. I made the last couple picks because I had more money than everyone, so.
So do you stand by the way you did your draft?
Rumors are rumors. I know what really happened. I'm satisfied with the way I picked.
Everyone kind of drafted up to their skill level. Didn't really feel like there was anybody who outperformed me anyway. So
We've got a new rookie in here this year that took over for the Raiders. Man, what's his name? What's it?
Todd?
Oh, Nick.
Tony.
Yeah, Nick. Is it Tony or
I thought
Javon?
it was Todd. Nick
Todd.
Okay.
Nick Todd. We're looking. Nick. Whatever his name is. I mean, it's fun for him to come in and play with the guys. I mean, it's good for him. So I appreciate him putting his money in. Okay. That's about what we got to say about that.
That's the guy that bought Grandma's old house.
It is.
Yeah,
So that's another reason we kind of
Yeah.
let him in,
Yep.
just because he's a good fella.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look and see who everybody drafted. Usually the Bills are pretty tough. They try to cheat people in their trades, and I think that's how they get good. But I'm really going to just have to sit back and look and see who everybody picks, so I'm going to know better once I see everything.
I'm skeptical of Matthew every year because he drafted probably the worst team, but he'll be in the Super Bowl. And so I think he cheats every year to get there. That's why I think he's okay with buying all these lesser guys, because he knows he's going to cheat his way to the top, and I'm sure he'll do that again this year. But when he plays us in the Super Bowl, we will beat him.
I think the Bears had a decent draft. They got graded well. I think a couple of other people in our division did not get graded super well, which would be like the Redskins and the Colts. So we're looking forward to playing them twice this year and having a good season and making the playoffs.
I think the Bills did well. They usually do. And I think the Vikings did well. I wish I could play, though, during the season. I have two brothers in this league, and I wish I could play them, one of my best friends. If I could play them every week, I'd go undefeated. That's typical.
There's a few people that I think probably followed the same MO that they have in the past and go out and get a lot of big names. There's a couple guys I always wonder about because they save up till the end. I think they're looking for value, and then they're going to probably be more active in trades during the season. I am not one that does a lot of trading. I try to get a roster in the draft that is one I'm going to use a lot. I'm not as into the trading as others are, but I know a couple of guys in particular that waited to the end and had some money even left over, didn't even spend their $200 and had a little bit of rollover going into the regular season. So I thought that was interesting.
I'm impressed by mine. So the draft experts said that I had the number one draft this year, and the previous 2 years, whoever ranked number one after the draft won the Super Bowl for the league. So I'm fairly confident that I'm going to continue to follow that streak.
There's no pressure. I mean, I don't really feel competition from any of those guys, so I just let it ride.
I would be shocked if I didn't win it all this year, and it's kind of funny because I say that every year. But I think I fully expect to make the playoffs. And then once you make the playoffs, there's more luck during that period of time than there is during the regular season. So I'm expecting a good year this year.
I love auctions. Auctions work. Auctions are fun. You can go out and get the players you want. So I think everybody is kind of acclimated to that now. I think they like doing it. They like being able to get the players that they want from the teams that they like. You know, some of the guys like their hometown teams. The Packers went all in on the Packers this year, which if they're good is going to be great for them, and if they're not, then we'll see. But I think everybody enjoys being able to do that, and it's the right and equitable way to do it, and it's a lot of fun.
Go Dolphins, and may the best swimming mammal team win.
I think we're good to go. So let's have a great season.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.